Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. So I am just going to give everyone just a few minutes here to come into the room and just giving the notifications just a few minutes to go out here. Hopefully everyone is doing well and your week is off to a great start. We are really winding down here on the year 2020. Has been pretty interesting. And I can't believe, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Christmas is like next week. That shows you how prepared I am. But yeah, y'all. But hopefully everyone is doing well. Hey to everyone coming in the room. Hey Project 704. Hey Abdul. Hey Southeast Dusty. Y'all, we have so much to talk about tonight. So I hope y'all have y'all glasses filled. And I hope you are ready. Because there's been a lot going on and we're going to talk about it. Before we get started tonight, if you don't have a Hey Y'all mug, you can get one of those in the link below as you're joining me on these lives on a Tuesday. Also, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to my patrons. Thank you so much for the people who support my content. I thank y'all so much. A special shout out to my VIP patrons, Daniel, Michael Ray, and Ray Ray. Thank y'all for supporting my content. I also would like to give a extra shout out to Andre Thomas. Thank you so much as well for supporting my content. All right, y'all. So let's see who else coming to the room. Hey, Villain Tucker. Hey, Edward Bailey. Hey, Edward Ivy. Hey, Theta. Hey, Joel. Hey, Jupiter Black. All right, y'all. So I am not going to waste a lot of time here because there's a lot we need to talk about. As y'all can see, I have my beautiful mic here. Just have me feeling like I'm on a late night radio show, and your host is RhondaMary. Welcome. Now, yeah, I'm just acting silly, but make sure y'all let me know how the sound is and things like that. Hey, Grace. All right, y'all. So let's first go ahead and jump into the first hot topic, which people have already been asking me about. Okay, y'all have been asking me about this woman who is the first to receive the vaccination in the States, to my understanding. And she was in New York City. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. ICU nurse in New York, among the first people in U.S. to get authorized coronavirus vaccine. Okay, so a critical care nurse was the first person in New York, among the first people in the United States to get a shot of the coronavirus vaccine authorized by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. Sandra Lindsay, an ICU nurse at Long Island Jewish Medical Center in Queens, New York City, was administered the vaccine during a live video event at about 9:20 a.m. Eastern on Monday. Dr. Michelle Chester, the corporate director of employee health services at Northwell Health, delivered the shot. She said she has a good touch and it didn't feel any different than taking any other vaccines, Lindsay said immediately after. She said, I have no fear. I trust the science. My profession is deeply rooted in science. I trust science. What I don't trust is getting COVID-19 because I don't know how it will affect me and the people around me that I could potentially transfer the virus to. So you guys may be probably most likely familiar with this, okay? So What do I think about this? This is diversity. This is diversity. This is what diversity looks like. This is what Black girl magic. This is Black girl magic. All right. You have a nurse, right? This career woman. She's on the front lines. She's an essential worker. She's a Black woman. She's an immigrant with the Black girl magic, and she has her Black girl doctor administering this vaccination. And that's what you see happening here. So when people continue to ask for diversity as if that trumps all, remember that also comes with the propaganda as well. Sometimes, oftentimes, right? The propaganda. Usually it's very little substance. And that's a good way to ignore substance, ignore dissent, and all these other things, because you can just slap diversity on it and, oh, you should just accept that. And like I always say, oftentimes these topics that we talk about are like a revolving door. And so this concept is gonna slide right into us talking about Joe Biden tonight as well. But that's what you have here. If you think it's by any accident, even the article tells you one of the first to get the vaccine. Okay. So if you think it's by any accident that they picked this particular woman because television is messaging, television is programming. In fact, that's why it's called television programming. Okay. So this woman was selected as the first to go on camera receiving this, right? Because we know if this strong Black woman, right? Because even during election time, I did a video about this, and they talked about the strong Black woman, how she leads her household. And when she moves, the entire Black community moves, right? These are things that they've said. They put this into the messaging that they send to us. I've showed you this, okay? So this is just falling in line with that. This is no accident. For some reason, the coronavirus, the lockdowns, none of this should be political. But for some reason, it has become political, and they're going to use some of the same things that the algorithms have told y'all. The algorithms have told them that y'all care about. They're going to use those same messages to sell to you, to promote, to propagandize. Okay. So that's what we have here. I am by no means am I surprised by that. Okay. I recently posted a video on my Instagram. If you're not following me over there, I'm RhondaMary Vids on Instagram. I posted a video about the Tuskegee experiment, okay, particularly when it comes to Black Americans in this country. You have a long history of medical malpractice and a lot of reasons, understandably so, for dissent, concern, and all these other things. And so a lot of people have been making parallels to the Tuskegee experiment, where even then you had a Black woman that was the face, right? That was the face of the Tuskegee experiment, bringing these other people in because, oh, I looked the part. And y'all, this parallels into the politics. I look the part, but really I'm the face. I'm the representative. And behind me, I'm really the face of big pharma, big tech, okay, big corporations. They're funding my pockets. I'll speak. I'll represent the agenda. That's what we have here. It's also one of the main reasons why I have that Entertainers Are Not Leaders t-shirt, which is also available in my link below, where it's the same thing. Oftentimes, a lot of these faces, they aren't being propped up for no reason. It's not for no reason. It's very calculated what we see, how the algorithms moved, what's put before us. So it becomes very hard just to trust people because they have some type of title, they have some type of show, they get some type of limelight. These are things that we have to be very attentive to. So that's what you see there with this Black woman being the first to receive the vaccinations and being promoted and pushed heavily. I am absolutely not even slightly surprised by that at all. Jupiter Black said, it's amazing how people research the Tuskegee experiment but won't research the media on their BS. LOL. You know, that's a good point. That's a good point. Like I said, a lot of these things, the propaganda, the lies, the manipulation, you can see a lot of parallels across platforms. And this is why I always tell people that a lot of these tactics have not changed. They still exist. The motives have not changed, but the tactics and how they move have, right? So some of these things are still the same, but they'll try to throw things at it like diversity, body positivity, which we're about to talk about in a second here with Lizzo, right? But all of these attacks on people still exist. They're trying to just wrap crap in a bow. That's what they're doing. They try to appeal more emotionally. They virtue signal. But a lot of these things are still the same. And yeah, so people need to be aware of that. Oh Lord. Defund Tatiana. Well, that's an interesting name. But hey, all right, y'all. So thank you, Jupiter Black. All right, so let's move into talking. I just wanted to briefly mention Lizzo and what's going on with her and why I specifically want to talk about this for a couple of reasons, because it shows you really how backwards and how selfish our culture has become. And even a lot of these more progressive movements like body positivity, like feminism, oftentimes, and this is going to parallel going into Tulsi Gabbard, right? Oftentimes, you know, it's not about what they're projecting. It's oftentimes more about control. And if you are a woman that steps out of the bounds of what's now popping, what's popular, and all of these other things, now you're problematic. And now it's not about woman empowerment and things like this. You're ousted, you're tossed aside, you're bullied, you're harassed, and all of these other things. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. This is according to Rolling Out. So Lizzo fires back at fans criticizing her for diet culture after 10-day detox. Lizzo is tired of the critical remarks in response to her efforts to weight loss. On Tuesday, December 15th, Lizzo shared a topless photo via Instagram with a caption that read, "I detoxed my body and I'm still fat. I love my body and I'm still fat. I'm beautiful and I'm still fat. These things are not mutually exclusive. Even that right there, right? After she does the detox and coming back saying this is a deflection, and it's almost like a pity party to come back to women and say, oh, well, I'm still here with you. I'm still, I haven't changed. I'm still a part of the club. Even having to acquiesce to that extent, that's control. Why do you even have to explain yourself to this level? But let's move forward. She continued with the message to her followers as she encouraged them to live life on their own terms. Lizzo added, to the people who look to me, please do not starve yourselves. I did not starve myself. I fed myself greens and water and fruit and protein and sunlight, as you should, Lizzo. You don't have to do that to be beautiful or healthy. That was my way. You can do life your way. First of all, again, to the people who look to me, please do not starve yourselves. This overly hyped, Hollywood-driven, entertainment, celebrity-led culture that we have created, even to the detriment of people, where a celebrity has to be like, oh my God, don't starve yourself, because even though I'm literally doing healthy things, I don't know if you're going to take that and translate it into something else because of some type of mental thing you have going on. But let me let you know that I don't want anything you saw from me to signal to you that you should starve yourself. This is what happens when you have a totally celebrity crazed culture where people refuse to use their own minds, stand on their own to do what they know to be healthy and prosperous and successful for their own lives, and people throw their burdens, their insecurities, their wants and desires on people that they've never met a day in their life. There's literally a mental health aspect here that we need to be discussing. What is pushing people to rely so heavily on what somebody that they see inside a TV screen, a TV box, is doing? These are things that we need to ask ourselves, particularly as it relates to our young people. Why has a celebrity-focused culture engulfed people to the point where they will be willing to self-harm based on something that they saw on social media, that they saw on TV? Lizzo's latest Instagram post comes just days after she posted about her 10-day detox. On Sunday, December 13th, the Feeling Good singer shared details about her detox journey with her TikTok followers. She also explained why she decided to post about the detox, as she responded to those who criticized her for promoting diet culture. In the video, Lizzo admitted that she would normally feel afraid and ashamed to share such an experience, because I feel like as a big girl, people expect if you are doing something for health, you're doing it for a dramatic weight loss, and that is not the case. So you literally have somebody sitting here saying, I'm afraid and ashamed to in public talk about my own personal thoughts, my own personal feelings, because every time I freaking open my mouth, y'all project y'all insecurities on me. That's basically what she's saying here. I can't be who I want to be. I can't promote what I want to promote. I can't talk about the things I want to talk about because of y'all projecting and pushing your ideas on me. Even if I just want to eat a salad for a day, I can't do that without the freaking outrage mob assuming that I'm going to come back like some bony stick figure. And I ask you, seriously, it's a genuine question. Under these type of conditions, how could entertainers possibly ever be leaders? How? How? If every single time they are bowing, acquiescing to the outrage mob. I can't talk to you about my own thoughts. I can't talk to you about my own feelings. I can't talk to you about who I am and what I'm really feeling inside, because I have to say what you want to hear. Does that sound like leadership? Does that sound like somebody that you have the ability to follow because they're going to do the genuine thing, the earnest thing, the most honest thing, the most worthy thing? And I don't totally blame this, not totally on celebrities, right? It's what we've called for with cancel culture, with bullying celebrities, with making them feel like they absolutely have to speak when it comes on our behalf, whether it's social topics to political topics. So this is her telling you here in a roundabout way, I can't even say what I want, because if I do, y'all are going to bully me. So honestly, I'm just going to say what you want to hear because it's easier. This is no different from recently when I talked about Letitia Wright, the co-star from the Black Panther film. We just talked about her a week ago, having to delete her account because you can't share your own thoughts, your own questions, okay, about the vaccine. You have to absolutely cower to the popular opinion. And if you don't, people will bully you. They'll try to get you canceled. They'll try to get you fired. So what are you going to do as a celebrity, as an entertainer, if you want to keep your lights on? What are you going to do if you're still dependent on others to book you, to hire you, if you're not to the status, or you don't believe you're to the status where you can be independent and do your own projects? Now, I personally believe that weight loss and health is a very personal journey and it's individual. I don't believe that every single thin person is healthy, right? I was one of those people like several years back, but nonetheless, I was thin, just eating whatever I wanted, and I was not well. Okay, I've talked about this on my channel before. And so it's a very personal journey. It's already not easy. But health is so important. And I don't think people should be bullied in any phase of that. And you have somebody coming forward talking about their struggles, and people are like downing her. And I was already under the suspicion that in a lot of ways, I feel as if Lizzo, and I've talked about this earlier with her, you know, the whole twerking stunt in the thong at on sideline, okay, at the NBA, how I believe, you know, she was being used to project a certain image. And then you have her come forward like this. And if, you know, because we don't know at this point, but I highly believe that if any point she was wanting to actually drop the weight on the behalf of herself, making this decision on her own, she will probably lose most of her support. Half. You have these people trying to live vicariously through her. And not only that, let's talk about how stunningly selfish it is. In the middle of a pandemic, this is this generation. This is just this generation. In the middle of a quote unquote, right, pandemic. The same pandemic that Letitia Wright, for going against the mainstream narrative, the same pandemic that Letitia Wright had to delete her social media because she was being so badly harassed. In the same freaking pandemic, you have people bullying Lizzo because she's choosing to take a healthier route. And we know one of the main things I talked about early on was obesity was listed as one of the main factors of dealing with the worst symptoms while catching the coronavirus. This is how backwards this culture has become. In the middle of a freaking pandemic, when obesity is the number one cause for dealing with the worst symptoms of coronavirus, you have people mad that this girl wanted to drink a freaking smoothie. How does this make sense to people? It gets no more backwards than that. We're literally in the height of when people should be doing immune boosters. If you care anything about your life, your livelihood, we are at the height in time where people should be trying to lose the extra weight, attempting to do immune boosters, attempting to live a healthier lifestyle. If not only would you have plenty of other reasons, trust me. But if not only, right, to escape the freaking coronavirus, this is the time out of all times, and you have people coming for this girl head. Yeah, I'm getting a little warm, sorry. You have people coming for this girl head. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. This is the double speak. This is the confusion. This is the hamster wheel and a running in circles of overlapping. This is why you can't follow social media. You have to follow your own convictions. You have to lead yourself, because these people don't know right from left. Thank you, RLTDT Podcast said cancel culture is just a way for sponsors to keep their investments, entertainers in check. Well, you got a point there. Got to keep them in line. But I can tell that Lizzo is very sensitive. So honestly, I hope that she's mentally well and not letting the outrage mob get to her. I hope the same for Letitia Wright. I'm not sure if she has gotten back on her social media yet, but you can tell because Lizzo, just like Cardi B, they respond to a lot of stuff. They're gonna respond to the stuff that hurts their feelings, makes them feel some type of way. Lizzo is always kind of sharing her like emotional things and stuff like that, which I suppose, is nothing wrong with that. But you also have to consider the culture that we live in too. And you have to be mentally prepared to handle the pushback and all of the other things that you're going to get. So I wish the best to Lizzo as far as her health goals, particularly when it makes the most sense to actually be working towards, living a better, healthier lifestyle and things like that. So but so we'll see what happens with that. We'll see if she goes full Monique and Adele, you know what I mean? We'll see what happens with that. So, but either way, whatever Lizzo decides to do, I honestly, genuinely hope it is on her own accord and it is not because she is cowering to people that do not have to live in her body. So I do wish the best for her. We'll see what happens. But all right, y'all. So let's talk about a little bit about Tulsi Gabbard. Okay. So Tulsi Gabbard recently came out talking about this legislation that she has introduced that is intended to protect women's sports. Of course, she has received a lot of backlash for this. Let's go ahead and take a look at her recent tweet and a video. So, let's look at this tweet. She said, "My Protect Women's Sports Act simply protects the rights and interests of girls and women who participate in sports so they can compete on a level playing field. Denying biological differences between men and women undermines the reason why Title IX was created in the first place." All right, so let's take a look here just at a few minutes of this video where she was basically talking more about this.
Hey everybody, I hope that you're all doing well on this beautiful Sunday. I just want to take a moment to talk to you about Title IX and some recent legislation that I introduced. You may know Title IX is a historic provision created in 1972 that was based on the recognition of a biological distinction between men and women, and to make sure that women and girls have equal opportunities, especially as it relates to competitive sports. Now, it was specifically created as a carve-out to existing anti-discrimination laws that not only allowed, but actually required educational institutions who receive federal money to provide separate programs and opportunities for females based on biological sex, recognizing this is the only way for girls and women to achieve equality in competitive sports. Now, in today's world, decades later, this is something that we may take for granted, but its enactment in 1972 led to a massive generational shift that positively impacted countless girls and women. If you look back to the days before Title IX, there was really no such thing as competitive female sports, maybe intramural leagues, but that was about it. Female athletes didn't get any funding from their schools for things like travel if they wanted to compete, and had to sell cookies or wash cars to raise money for their bus tickets. They could only use the basketball court if the boys weren't using it. After winning 2 gold medals in the 1964 Olympics, a swimmer named Donna De Verona, she could not obtain a college swimming scholarship because for women at that time, there was no such thing. So Title IX changed everything. And Donna went on to become the first president of the Women's Sports Foundation, where she's talked about the fact that since 1972, since Title IX, because of increased funding and institutional opportunities, there's been a 545% increase in the percentage of women playing college sports and a 990% increase in the percentage of women playing high school sports.
All right, so You guys hear that there. You kind of get the gist of what's going on. Now, I find this interesting because, as y'all know, I've already done content, okay, covering Title IX specifically as it has related to this same topic in the past. Now, I will say I find this really interesting because something that Tulsi and I seem to have in common is that at this point, it feels as if you have so many Democrat politicians, okay, that have gone so far left that they are all like it's unrecognizable. And on a lot of fronts, it seems as if a lot of these more progressive things are really ways to undo, dismiss, tear down a lot of the headwaves that our civil rights leaders and heroes and our feminism, okay, back when it was a different thing from what it is today, feminist heroes and leaders, a lot of the headwaves that they made, okay, people have gone so far, right? And yes, I'm gonna call it extreme, to the point where if you don't believe or if you don't support things like abortions up until third trimesters, if you don't support the idea that there are fundamentally and biologically no differences between men and women, and other things that I could name that I've talked about over the course, of doing YouTube, you are ousted, you are dismissed, you are bullied, you are harassed, you are called things like far right, okay, and all of these other things that absolutely make no sense. And something that I find particularly, right, interesting as we're having this discussion about gender is that you have these virtue signalers, a lot of virtue signalers that are not even a part of the LGBT community, and spout this rhetoric that there's absolutely no difference between men and women, attempting to virtue signal, attempting to be affirming, yet, if anything, you're actually denying and erasing the very journey of trans men and trans women. To deny biological sex denies their transitioning. Because they are attempting to transition to something. This is why people that transition, right? If a woman transitions into a male or man or attempts to transition, they oftentimes go for more masculine features and things that are attributed to men, and vice versa for people that transition to become trans women. So on the very level of that, just even thinking about it, from a common, very common sense perspective, it makes no sense to deny biological sex. And even the fact of trying to get us to ignore what we can see with our own two eyes. Now, a lot of times people like to bring in these small numbers of intersex people, which is less than 1%, I believe, maybe 2. Intersex people that are an anomaly. That's like if I'm taking a test and they ask me how many fingers do humans have, and I put on the test as my answer, oh, well, people have 10 fingers, but some people have 11. Humans have 10 fingers, just like humans are male, female, man, woman. Do you have anomalies in small numbers? Yes. And so, like I said before, you have feminism, women empowerment movements and things like this. As you can go on Twitter and see all of the women and others bashing Tulsi Gabbard for the way she thinks, for literally trying to protect women. Matt said he has 12 fingers. She will be bullied. She will be harassed. She will be called names. She will be ousted from the, oh, we're women, we're protecting women, this togetherness type thing. And voices like this and regular everyday people that actually agree with her will be drowned out. They will be dismissed. They will be treated as they're extreme. They will be treated as if they're supposedly far right, when in fact they're just using their God-given eyes and common sense. In 2020, not even a decade after gay marriage was legalized, in 2020, for us to live in a culture where we are supposed to deny biological sex and act like men are women and women are men, and there is absolutely no difference, tells me everything I need to know about where this culture is headed, as far as them wanting us to ignore everything we see with our own eyes and just fall into the agenda and the narrative that is handed to us by mainstream media. There are constantly things being pushed that remove or undo a lot of the headwaves that were made during the civil rights movement, during the original feminist movement. And these are one of those things. So Tulsi talked about that in that 8-minute video. She goes on to talk about how women's sports how women's sports has increased, how women in sports, okay, has increased. Have you had a lot of women that have been able to go to school on these scholarships, able to receive a lot of great opportunities. You've had a lot of funding that have come into these things over time. And so I don't care what year it is. I don't care what's going on. I don't care who's in the Oval Office. I'm not going to deny very simple truth. And that is that there are absolutely 100% differences between men and women. Also notice, right, that they're very specific about the languaging. They always use men and women in these circles. They never use male and female because they absolutely know that male and female are more biological terms which spans across species. And when you break it down like that, the logic doesn't hold up. So that's why they tell you things like, oh, well, a woman is how you dress. It's your hair. It's how you feel inside. It's very specific. And this is why you have the algorithms, the big tech, and all of these other nefarious players that try to manipulate the language. Okay? And I won't do it. I refuse to do it. This absolutely doesn't mean that because some people will use this to say, oh, you're discriminating against LGBT people. What's more discriminatory than actually erasing the identity that they seek to affirm? Even transitioning was based on the idea of biological sex. And don't even get me to start going into the details and the science of biological sex, that even if you are dead and underground for years and there's nothing left but your bones, they can look at it and guess what? Guess what they could tell about you? Even with all your skin melted off, your whatever else gone, they can pull that body out of the grave and say, this was a man or this was a woman. So I know oftentimes I have people in my inbox, girl, I can't believe you say that because of my job. I can't say this because of what people think. I can't do this. I may be a lot of things, but one thing I'm not a liar and I'm not a hypocrite. And so people better believe if I'm saying something, it's coming from the most genuine place possible. So we'll see where this legislation goes. I brought this up before as I've had concerns with this, as we've seen in wrestling, one lady get her skull broken by a trans person. Okay. We've seen countless young girls in track and field absolutely being obliterated, okay, in their respective races. We've seen pictures of people standing side by side where they're being towered over by trans competitors. We've seen in CrossFit people's records absolutely being obliterated because of trans people being able to lift more, having more strength, and things like this. And so these are things that people need to think about, because a lot of these things have It just has no rhyme and reason to it. I don't care what type of drugs you were to give to a freaking LeBron James or a James Harden or a Steph Curry and help them transition over 5 years. They would still be at the highest competitors in that realm, in basketball, competing, given the opportunity to compete against women. So these are things to think about. I've talked about this before, my concerns. Also, I'm very curious about a lot of the people saying that it's okay. I have a strong suspicion that these people have not played sports. I have a really strong suspicion of that. Also, Serena Williams is on record. We're talking about the top athlete in the world, top women's athlete in the world. Hands down. We have Serena Williams on record saying that she could never compete in the men's field because how they are stronger, how they are faster, and she could not do it. She could not hold up on that type of competitive level. So if the top woman athlete in the world is saying that, do you really think I have interest in thinking that somebody that hasn't played sports should decide on these type of topics? Bruce said, you didn't know we're all equal and should have equal outcomes regardless of gender. Give Shaq a wig and it's totally fair if he played in the WNBA. And I'm glad you brought up the wig thing, because another part where it gets weird, and they're always pushing the boundaries, right? Because today it would be like, oh, take these drugs, you need to take this hormone therapy till you transition. Tomorrow it would be, oh, you just need to feel like a woman. In some circles, they're already saying this. They're already saying that all you have to do is feel like a woman. You don't have to transition, and you need to be affirmed in that. So how long before this becomes, yeah, just put on a wig and, you've been feeling like this for a while, so you're good. So this is where it makes no sense. It gets shaky, and it doesn't help that every single year the boundaries are being pushed further and further, and it just doesn't make sense. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with that. I remember some high school was literally, they were like getting ready to protest because this was a track and field event. And you had, two trans people winning. And you have girls that are like, we need these scholarships. We need these opportunities. We worked so hard, and it's no way. It's like we can't compete on this level. We can't do it. So we'll see. I'm surprised Tulsi has come out and do this. She's going to get a lot of hate for it, a lot of backlash. If this was 5 years ago, if this was 10 years ago, nobody would have even blinked an eye. And regardless of what the algorithms is telling you, regardless of the loudest voices, a lot of people agree with her. Okay? So we'll see. we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. And does that mean that every single trans person is some type of high level athlete? No, it does not. But science has shown us for decades now that whether it comes from the pelvic tilt being different, the average size of the hands, the stature, the strength in the legs, we have averages, we have statistics and numbers that back this up well beyond, oh, I feel like this today, or I feel like that. Okay. And even transitioning or hormone therapy is not going to change the size of your hands, the size of your legs, your height, and all of these other things. So it's unfortunate she's going to be bullied. People are going to throw her, they're going to throw her. They're going to say, oh, you're really a Republican. They don't like whole life Democrats. They don't like Democrats that stand up for babies or Democrats that stand up for women. It's not a thing you can do unless it aligns with the way that they say you can do it. Some woman empowerment, right? But y'all know. Hey, Kendra. But that's that. We will see what happens with her legislation. I would be so interested to see how this plays out, and more interested to see how the votes are going to sway on something like this coming out of Congress. So I really want to see that, but we'll see. I don't even think it's going to be brought to the floor, to be very quite honest with you. I just don't. So we'll see what happens. All right, so last but not least for tonight, and hello to everybody joining us, and make sure you go ahead and give me a thumbs up, share this video, make sure you're subscribed if you're not subscribed, and you can also grab one of these very cute Hey Y'all mugs in my link below. All right, so moving on to Black Lives Matter and what's been going on here recently with the Joe Biden administration. So, Bruce said Tulsi Gabbard is more in line with the average centric American. I want to acknowledge this comment, and why I want to talk about it and why it's so important is because a lot of us are a lot more nuanced, right? And we have these overlapping opinions and ideas and things that are important to us than the media, the mainstream media, would have you to believe. They oftentimes put the most polarizing, most extreme voices, they push them to the front. They do this with the algorithms. They do this on TV, and they do this to create a divide. And they also try to make people like you and I, yeah, I did that right, make us feel as if we have to choose sides, or we can't be honest or genuine to what's true. And I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. My issues are going to differ, I'm sure, depending on what we're talking about, from every single one in here watching tonight. And I appreciate y'all so much. We're not going to agree on everything. We're not. But I am not going to pretend. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to not have a voice. I'm not going to be quiet. They don't be quiet. The outrage mob don't be quiet. The extremists don't be quiet. Why I gotta be quiet? Why I gotta be silenced? So no, I won't. So if your view is not the highlighted one, you're not alone. Like I said, I get DMs all the time. I get people who never interact with my content ever, 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 but they watch. They be looking. And then when I see them in person, they be like, oh my God, I agree with you. But my job. But what people gonna say? So, you know. But hey, I mean, I guess such is life. I totally understand. Like I said last week, when Letitia Wright went ghost, the young lady from Black Panther, for posting her skepticism about the vaccines, and she couldn't handle the outrage mob and she went ghost. I said, I totally understand. It also took me some time to get to the point where I don't care. I'm going to say what I have to say and move on, because y'all say what y'all have to say and move on. So I am going to do the same. But all right, let's go ahead and jump right into this. So I saw this shout out to Dr. Watkins. I saw this the other day, and I thought this was funny. How it started. Black folk defeated Trump. How it's going. It has been 32 days since we requested a meeting with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Kamala. Let me make sure I say her name right, because I want y'all. I mean, I think it's respectful to say it how her parents named her, with an Indian pronunciation. Kamala. It's not Kamala, okay? It's Kamala. Kamala Harris. We've heard no response. This is according to New York Post. Black Lives Matter says Biden Harris have been silent on meeting requests. Black Lives Matter is putting the forthcoming Biden Harris administration on notice for failing to respond, putting them on notice. For failing to respond to a meeting request from the group. The activists say they were also excluded from a Tuesday meeting between the president and vice president-elect Louisiana Representative Cedric Richmond and several civil rights groups. On the night of the Biden-Harris victory, BLM sent a letter requesting a meeting. The movement wrote Wednesday on its Instagram. The post includes a graphic stating, it has been 32 days since we requested a meeting with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. We've heard no response. Black life cannot wait, the group said. Creating thriving conditions for Black communities in the 21st century cannot be on pause. The post continued, as the organization leading the largest global social justice movement, we demand a seat at the table. I mean, look, they're being honest about that. Black Lives Matter has way more clout than the NAACP and all these other groups are doing right now. They do. Right now, whether whatever you want to attribute that to, media, history, right, elders, whatever you want to attribute it to, I mean, BLM is not lying on that front. To ignore us and the 64,000 of you who have signed our petition is to ignore our generation's most pressing demands for transformative justice. We are waiting. They called on their 4 million Instagram followers to let the Biden-Harris team know you're waiting too. So one of the responses that I got when I talked about this on social media was, oh, well, the man not even in there good, Let him get in there. Like, he gonna meet with them. He just had a meeting with the civil rights groups. They were not invited. Why couldn't a BLM representative be invited amongst these other Black leaders? That's what they like to call them. So the truth is that BLM, which helped funneled a lot of this money, because where are the millions? It might even be a billion, if I'm not mistaken, a couple billions. They helped funnel this money into the DNC, helped Joe Biden win, and now he ain't picking up the phone. I mean, is that really surprising to people? Like, let's be real and actually think about it for a second. Is it surprising? Now, if anything, they may meet with them just off the strength of the actual backlash that they're going to get and the questioning that they're going to get about this. But these people don't take Black Lives Matter seriously. It's a thing. Like, it's like trying to make Fitch happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's like it's a adornment, right? Like, you remember Elizabeth Warren neatly placing the BLM blocks, right, in the back of her announcements video or some type of video she was doing. Stream, right? Painting Black Lives Matter on the streets. But the most tangible thing that you could really point to that the National Black Lives Matter organization does is bring attention to police brutality. And I don't know to what resolve. Like I said, we don't know where the money is going. We don't know what's really happening behind the scenes. I covered some of the information about it a couple of weeks ago, where they were like hundreds of thousands were going to travel into salaries. You have people once again getting rich, lining their pockets off people's real struggles. They're like a modern, more spread out version of Al Sharpton. Right? Al Sharpton shows up on the scene. He highlights something, brings attention to it, and I don't know, go chills in his villa. And honestly, I'm actually shocked that the Black Lives Matter National Organization even addressed it, even brought it up. So it makes me wonder, and I'm starting to think it's something more here, and it's something that we're going to see happen going forward. It could have something to do with the fact that as Joe Biden phases out, because we know it's going to happen, right? He's around here breaking his ankle and all this other stuff and stumbling over his words. We know it's going to happen at some point. We're not that naive. So this whole thing was about propping up Kamala Harris. And so this may be her entryway, her gateway into, oh, well, you know, we needed her to be the one to really get behind this because he couldn't be as progressive as she could, right? Or it could be to maybe push and lean into her and make her look like she has to push these things onto him, and he has to do it because working with his VP and all these other things. I mean, so it's not surprising. Will something happen with Black Lives Matter? I don't know. I think they could be up to something. These people always have something on up their sleeve, so I'm not exactly 100% keen to. But I find it interesting that Black Lives Matter would be bold enough to call them out, even though this administration has also brought a lot of attention to your organization, and we already know you are funneling and propping them up. So, thank you, Kendra. Helena said she didn't even make it to the first primary. There's more to why she got picked. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I want people to continue to recognize these things. Recognize these things that are at play. A lot of this, like, none of this stuff that we're seeing is by accident. It's very extremely calculated, and she's absolutely wants to be propped up. I am just curious to see how soon it'll be. So, but something's definitely, I have a hunch something's definitely going on there with Black Lives Matter being bold enough to call them out. We're going to see what happens. But as far as them actually taking Black Lives Matter serious, as opposed to using it as a vehicle for end to a means, right, which was to win the presidency, I see it. I don't think they see it as anything more than that. Humphrey Jones said, been following you for years now. I appreciate your honesty and depth of thought. Thank you so much. When somebody says they've been following me for years, it's like, oh, I have been doing this for years. That's crazy, huh? Also, y'all, I'm like 200 away. I think I'm like 200 away from 10,000. I'm like really close. It might even be 100 or so. It will be so awesome if I could make that before 2020. Oh my goodness, that would just make my year. So I think I'm gonna be pushing it. But y'all make sure y'all sharing for me. Please share. If I can hit 10,000 before the end of the year, that would be super exciting going into 2021. But thank you so much, Humphrey. And then, right, let's talk about this meeting. Let's talk about this meeting. I'm going to show a little bit of this clip that was put together by Savoy Show that I found on Twitter. Some of the other, it was getting hard to get back to some of the clips, but this is from the actual, some of this is from the actual meeting.
Well, I don't know if that counts. I'm not so sure. Well, if it doesn't count for y'all, well, the hell with y'all. But because it's real. It's real. For 25 years as a United States Senator. Before, Sherilyn, you were even involved. Got it. I started off, I'm much older than you. That's why I got involved in politics. If in case you haven't looked, we have the largest voting right. Kristen, my operation, 1,000 lawyers, bigger than you or anybody else out there on voting rights.
Not include, unless something happened, since we've been talking. Paid family and medical leave.
Yes, it does. Now, it does include paid family medical leave.
But it doesn't have enough.
Well, it has more than, I don't think you've read it. It has significant.
Okay, I've been reading it, and I said something may have happened since, but it was 1.8 million was going to take.
Well, I don't know if that counts. I'm not so sure. Well, if it doesn't count for y'all, well, the hell with you.
So let's see.
Joe Biden, you need to watch your.
This is Roland Martin, y'all.
I got no problem saying it. Joe Biden, you need to watch your tone. You need to watch your tone. Kamala Harris needs to pull Joe Biden aside. Joe, you might want to watch your tone. Joe Biden, he did during the debate, and he did it here where I did this and I did that, I did this and I did that. That was last week. Now, first of all, let's be real clear. That works fine in a debate because you're trying to establish what I've done. The reality is this for black folks. Joe, what you've done the last 47 years is irrelevant to where we are today. It's what you're going to do the next 4 years that's going to matter.
Oh, man. Roland Martin said Joe Biden needs to watch his tone. Joe Biden needs to watch his tone. Some of the other things he said in here in this call. Let's get something straight. You shouldn't be disappointed. What I've done so far is more than what anybody else has done so far, okay? Number one. Number two, I mean what I say when I say it. Also, I'm the first person, black or white, who called attention to the fact the rate of the people who are African Americans who are dying was 3 times that of white people. I have more of a record of getting things done in the U.S. Congress than anybody you know. He also said, I also don't think we should go too far ahead of ourselves on dealing with police reform because they've already labeled us as being defund the police. Anything we put forward in terms of the organizational structure to change policing, which I promise you will occur. He also said, by 2040, this country is going to be minority white European. And you guys are going to have to start working with more Hispanics who make up a larger portion of the population than y'all do. You know, sometimes people question my motives, question my sincerity. And I truly believe that time will be my vindication. Time will be my vindication because these things always turn around to prove themselves way better than I could ever say. A lot of these points I've already brought up. The fact that I told people early on how defunding the police, the languaging of that, I told people how they will take things and package it in a way. Y'all thinking these people, whoever started this saying, Black Lives Matter, progressives, whoever, social justice warriors, you're thinking these people are on your side, on your team, down for the cause, yet they come up with these hashtags and package things in the most polarizing way. And I told people that these hashtags, all hashtag justice, does not translate to legislation. I've told people this. I've told people that defunding the police was not working at the polls. He went on to blame in this, and I'll drop it below. It's an entire hour and almost 2-hour conference that he had with these civil rights leaders, organizations. He literally goes in on them and telling them that they were hurt in the polls as far as their numbers as it comes to the House and the Senate because of things like defund the police. I talked about this weeks ago. Not only that, I've been telling people for years now, you are about to be pushed to the side for Hispanics. Black people, you are about to be pushed to the side for Hispanics, for illegal immigrants. I've explained this. People are so happy about this people of color coalition. He said some type of statistic about being 40% white European. And I think maybe adding in that context, white Hispanics. I've been explaining this forever. People call me anti-immigrant, even though my freaking uncle is an immigrant. I have several friends and colleagues who are immigrants. But now it takes the person that is president-elect to come and say the same thing that I've literally been trying to tell people for years. So this favoritism that Black people think, even in a way he's talking to these people, he's telling you straight up, this favoritism you think you're gonna get, you're not gonna get. You better make room for the other people of color. And if you don't like the things that I'm doing, if you don't agree with the picks, if you're not okay with these bones that I'm throwing you as concerns the diversity and the Black people I'm putting on my cabinet, to hell with you. He said that out of his own mouth. This is not me saying it. I just played it for y'all. To hell with you. If you are not okay with his picks, I gave you diversity. I called Trump racist. I said the country filled with white supremacy. What more do you want from me? I've done my part. And if that's not enough for you, I put a couple of y'all on my cabinet. And if that's not enough for you, to hell with you. I just love when people bring up a good point. Said the entertainment at the fall. Y'all know I talked about that. That's probably why Sade is bringing it up. I've talked about that. They always are sending messaging. Even at the Super Bowl, they used Black Lives Matter. They used Colin Kaepernick to push all these issues about social justice, and turn around to Jay-Z, right? Because I told you they put entertainers there, but the entertainers representing some corporation on their back. Jay-Z, oh yeah, we're going to do this social justice thing, but we ain't kneeling no more. We're going to do it the right way. And got up there and gave y'all J-Lo and Shakira. Now, do I have a problem with that on a surface level of J-Lo and Shakira being entertainers? No, I do not. It's the manipulation that consistently happens, and people fall for it every single time. Al Sharpton push back. Al Sharpton was sitting there shaking his head at some of these moments. When he said, I'm the only white boy Joe Biden said that I'm the only white boy that has done this much for y'all. And I'll act like, So he's telling you straight up, I've said racism is bad. I said Trump is bad. I gave you diversity. Like, we're going to do what we can. He even told them straight up. He told them, he literally sat there and said, I'm not like the progressives. I'm not going to do what they're going to do. We're going to stick to the Constitution, which obviously on a lot of fronts he's learning about that. We're going to stick to the Constitution, but don't be expecting all these executive orders from me. I'm not going to fulfill your needs and your desires through executive order. Don't ask me. Don't expect it from me. If you want something passed, we're going to need to pass it through Congress, and we're most likely not going to get it passed through Congress because y'all spent the last 2 years talking about defunding the police, and they already know what we're going to do, so probably don't expect that either. So the same thing that I've been talking about is slowly showing itself. And it's not to make a point, you know what I mean? Or just because, whatever. But just letting people know, because oftentimes it's to the point now where, the attention that I put into politics and things like this, the average person just, like, let's be honest, does not have time to keep up with, or they just don't care to keep up with. And so it's from the most genuine place that I try to tell people what's going on. And sometimes these things obviously just have to reveal themselves. For him to sit here and speak the way he did to these people is absolutely disgusting and absurd. And y'all know I've even talked about this, particularly in a work environment. You're not gonna talk to me any type of way. You're not gonna do it. I'm not your child. Like, you're just not gonna handle me or talk to me any type of way. So first of all, that's absolutely disgusting. And to me, possibly also points to the fact that he possibly, I'll say allegedly, right, has dementia. Something I noticed from dealing with a grandmother that had dementia, and also just being around elderly people. Sometimes you'll notice that some older people, like, as they age, they kind of get like this mean, combative thing going on, especially as they go into like dementia and have certain spells. I don't know if y'all notice that. I'm not exactly sure how common that is, but it's very reminiscent of me, to me, dealing with my grandmother in like her last stages of life, and how she would go through some of these different phases, and some phases where she would just be like it's like a mean. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so the Southeast said yes, it is very common. So me seeing these little spouts like this, I feel like in some ways kind of leans towards that. But I just think it's interesting that this man, like, you ain't even got your furniture moving good, and you already showing out like this. It's already revealing and showing itself, and it's a reason why this is not going viral, right? Like, some people know about it. And it's kind of being talked about on some levels, mostly on Twitter. But if you go over to Instagram, you don't see a lot of people talking about this. You don't see a lot of your main news sources talking about this. This would typically be a bombshell story of some sorts, and you just really don't see that. And it's for a reason. Blake said they gonna need to install a wheelchair ramp for Grandpa Joe. Yep, Edward said, and they show signs of being senile. I can't senility. I guess that's how you say it. But being senile. But you don't have a lot of your mainstream media sources talking about this. The Intercept leaked this. And you see some people talking about it here and there. You see mostly like independent sources talking about it and things like that. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by this at all. I think it's only the beginning. And I think possibly what you're going to see over time as he goes out, we don't know which point that's going to be in, but as he goes out, they're going to combine these things along with, oh, something's happening to his mental capacity. Oh, and he's having a body breakdown, and oh, he broke this or this happened, and they're going to slide Kamala right on up. So, I'm interested to see what happens over the next few years. I think this could be a good precursor. I mean, it seems like he's being pretty honest and candid about some of the things he plans to do, and some of the things it's like, absolutely don't even look at me to do these things. Some of y'all interests, I'm just not even going to fulfill at all. So don't freaking ask me, because I'm not going to do it by executive order. So you better get to work in Congress. Which, of course, I actually think is the right thing based on handling it. And y'all know I've addressed that. I've addressed that early on with Trump. A lot of the constantly writing executive orders, I'm like, that's not sufficient, and a lot of those things are not going to hold weight. Joe Biden is already talking about removing a lot of those things, right? And also, I think with great leadership, it's about getting people on board. And I think on some levels, you had some ways that it was showed that Trump could do that, particularly like I mentioned with the First Step Act. You had a lot of people that wouldn't typically be on board with that were able to get on board with that and get it passed actually through Congress, right? So on a surface level, I don't think that's a bad thing, him saying that is actually supposed to be the progress. But another thing that proves and it shows to me, and I want to reiterate, is that I want people to remember that we have a Congress, and Congress is actually supposed to be used. And you're supposed to have different members of Congress introducing legislation. They're supposed to work across the aisle to try to get people on board and then get these things passed and worked up. You're not supposed to have a president that's just supposed to come in there and put his will on the people. That's not how that's supposed to go. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But on some levels, I don't think he's being honest about that. I think he just wanted to tell them that. I think he just wanted to tell them that So it's like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to use this executive power for you. But all right, y'all, we'll see. We'll see what happens, you know. I'm going to be watching. It's going to be interested to see now if he meets with Black Lives Matter because of the backlash that's currently happening. Theta said executive orders are necessary when you have a Congress that won't do their job, pass legislation. So two things, right, about that statement. One, I absolutely 100% think that Congress should actually do their job. That's what they're hired to do, to pass legislation. But the second thing I think about that, the idea that executive orders are necessary when you have a Congress that won't do your job, the unfortunate thing about that is that what you allow is what will continue. And so if you've been okay with the executive orders, you're going to have to still be okay with it when someone gets in that office that you don't like and they're passing those executive orders that you don't like. So, you know, to keep that same standard, it doesn't now not become okay because it's an executive order that you don't like. And I think that it just creates too much room. And I understand what Theta's saying, especially going into COVID. We've seen Congress pretty much be sitting ducks on a lot of this stuff, okay? Let's just be honest. And they've been continuously getting paid while they, in essence, have helped put tons of Americans out of work. And, you know, I definitely think that's unfortunate. It's things that we need to look at, right? Try to course correct. But when you have any president that just can come in here and write any executive order, you know, whatever, I'm just going to do this because Congress hasn't done their job. And, you know, not on some of these levels, it's like, well, how much have you even done, you know, to get this legislation passed? It just creates I think, wrong precedent. It creates a wrong precedent. Bruce said, true that Congress is not functioning at all, but a president that rules by executive order is just a tyrant. Edward said, the only reason why I think Biden might meet with BLM is he might be pressured to do so. I'm thinking that now. If he does meet with them, it's going to absolutely be about pressure, because y'all have to remember, these things are very calculated. This is not an oversight that you meet with some of the top civil rights organizations in the world and you just by chance get the most visible social justice, quote unquote, organization at the moment. It's not an oversight. It's not an accident. So we'll see what happens. But y'all, we had a lot to talk about tonight. And so, child. So yeah, thank y'all for rocking with me. Make sure you give that thumbs up. If you are not subscribed, and make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I want to absolutely thank every single one of you for that supports my content. We are so close to 10,000 subscribers. So please share, please like, please comment. Don't forget, if you want one of these cute Hey Y'all mugs or Entertainers Are Not Leaders or Anti-Status t-shirt, those are available in my link. Also, a special thanks to my Patreons, especially my VIP patrons, Daniel, Michael Ray, and Ray. Thank you to everyone that has super chatted. during this live stream, and I will be talking to y'all soon. Have a good night. Bye.